Hey everybody. So this video is going to start our conversation surrounding the shoulder. We're going to take a look at the structures of the shoulder, we'll take a look at the function of the shoulder, and specifically how those are related to our yoga practice. So where do we even begin this discussion? And I think to establish a baseline, it's helpful to look at the intention behind the design of the shoulders. We are very tactile organisms. We move and interact through our daily lives, gathering information with our hands. We learn with a high degree from our hands, from touch. We use tools. Some of us more than others communicate with our hands, our arms, and our shoulders. So in order to meet these demands placed on them, these shoulders are designed to be highly mobile, to be freely movable. So despite the image that you may have of yoga based on perhaps an Instagram influence, the human being is not designed to walk around on their hands. So what is the design that allows us to meet these demands? When we talk about the shoulder together, when we refer to the shoulder, I am referring to the shoulder as a region, as a complex. That region, that complex, is made up of three true joints or three synovial joints and one kind of pseudo or false joint. And it acts like a joint. It's not classified as a synovial or true joint because it lacks some of the characteristics that are common throughout all synovial joints. But for functionality purposes, it works like one. So what are these four joints that make up this shoulder complex, as we'll talk about it? We have first the Sterno Clavicular joint, named for the sternum or the breastbone as it comes into junction with the clavicle or your collarbone. So you have your sternoclavicular. Moving distally or further away from the midline along the collarbone, we come to the acromioclavicular. So the acromion process is the head of the scapular spine, and it contacts the distal or end of the clavicle or collarbone further away from the midline to create the joint, the acromioclavicular. Then we have what's most commonly referred to as the shoulder joint. I believe most people, when they talk about, oh, my shoulder, are referring to what is actually the glenohumeral joint, right? It's named for the glenoid fossa, or the cup or dish-like shape at the end of the scapula here, and the upper arm bone, the humerus. Again, this is largely what people are referring to when they say, oh, my shoulder, but for our purposes, remember, we're going to talk about the shoulder as a whole functional unit unless we specifically refer to the glenohumeral joint. Those are the three synovial joints or true joints. And then there's the fourth, what we said is kind of like a pseudo joint. So we'll spin Fred around here. And that is the Scapula Thoracic. So the junction between the shoulder blade or scapula and the thoracic rib cage. So you might be able to see that from the front side as well. As we take Fred, stick our hand up in his chest, and you can see the junction between the rib cage and the scapula. So these four joints work in a high degree of coordination to create a high degree of mobility in the shoulder region. So one sort of principle to consider is that the more stable or rigid something is designed to be, it's inherently less mobile. So the shoulders designed for a high degree of mobility are by nature less stable. So when we come to a yoga practice, we see a practice that places a high degree of demand in stability on the shoulders. We do that through a lot of weight-bearing postures where we bear weight on the hands and the arms. We do that through repetitive motions. So in placing a high degree of demand for stability on a region that is built for more mobility, we can look for ways to help bring in stability in this region. And we can do so by looking at the 4 joints that work together, that coordinate the movement of the shoulder for regions to create stability. And what I'll offer you is 4 movements that you can implement in your practice, as well as perhaps in your teaching, to help create a stable shoulder environment. So we'll take a look at those now. Let's take a look at 4 movements that you can implement into your yoga practice, maybe even your teaching, to help create a stable shoulder environment. It can be helpful to have a block handy or something of this size, shape, nature to provide resistance between the hands as we work through these. So the first movement I'll ask you to do is without the block. You'll extend your arms out in front of you, palms face forward, thumbs face towards one another. You're going to spin your thumbs up. So thumbs face towards one another, then you spin your thumbs up, creating external rotation at the shoulder joint. Then what we're going to do is take the block, same position of the hands and arms, but place the block between your hands. Same action. You're going to act like you can spin your thumbs up, but in this case, the block provides resistance. The hands don't move, but the action at the shoulders effectively remains the same as you create external rotation. Your outer upper arms or triceps wrap towards the mat, engaging the muscles, the external rotators, to help create a stable environment specifically for the upper arm bone into the shoulder socket. The second movement, same position of the block in hands and arms. Act like you can squeeze the block together, as if your thumbs could touch, and as if your index knuckles could touch. Squeeze. Feel the muscles of your chest get strong, help to stabilize the anterior or front portion of your shoulders. The third movement, everything stays the same, but you're going to press the block away from you as far as you can. So it starts here, and you press the block away as far as you can, broadening the shoulder blades away from one another, helping to engage the muscles that lie in that pseudo joint that we talked about, that Scapula Thoracic region, effectively strapping these shoulder blades to the rib cage. The fourth movement is going to sort of balance the third. Same position of the blocks, hands and arm. Press the block away from you as far as you can. Engage the muscles that help strap the shoulder blade to the rib cage. And start to find a balanced effort as you gently draw the shoulder blades towards one another so that there's a balance between the effort of pressing the block all the way away from you and squeezing your shoulder blades towards one another so that you start to activate the muscles across the posterior or backside of your shoulder. So let's put those all together. Block between your hands, arms extend out in front, palms face away. Act like you can spin your thumbs up as you create external rotation in the shoulders. Wrap your outer upper arms down. Then act like you can squeeze the block together. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Keep those two, then press the block away as far as you can. And balance that effort as you draw the shoulder blades slightly towards one another. And at this point, you have a nice, healthy, stable environment for the shoulders. So depending on the position of the limbs and the body, those 4 movements are available either in part or all of them to start to add in to your yoga practice. So I hope you find these helpful and enjoy.